My name is Anne.
Standing here at Professor Julia Miller's retirement party at the luxurious Oberon Hotel, I never expected to come face to face with David. He spots me and approaches, a glass of wine in his hand. His face is thinner, and there are streaks of gray in his temples. "And I didn't think you'd be here," he says, his voice rough. I look at him calmly and reply, "I didn't think I'd see you either." His smile is faint. Professor Miller is the only one who still keeps in touch with me after what happened. I nod. She's always been a kind, hearted soul, seeing the best in everyone. David looks at me for a long time, searching for words. Finally, he sighs and says, "I owe you a real apology. It's not for you to hear, but for me to say." I stay silent, lost in memories that take me back to a time when my world was shattered. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My parents were hard-working people. My father was a mechanic, a man of few words, but with a heart of gold. My mother was a schoolteacher, gentle yet firm. They taught me the values of honesty, loyalty, and hard work. I met David in college. He was charming, ambitious, and we fell in love quickly. After graduation, we moved to Chicago, where I became a lecturer in business administration at a local university, and David joined a law firm as a partner. We had a beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 stable jobs, and we took annual vacations. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. But beneath that perfect surface, cracks were forming. One evening, David was in the shower. The sound of running water from the bathroom was a backdrop to the small ping of his phone, carelessly left on the nightstand. I'd never been the type to snoop on my husband's phone. Trust was something I held dear. But my intuition, that gut feeling that only becomes clear when the pain is unbearable, made me pick up the phone. The screen lit up with a notification. Table for 2 confirmed at Oberon Hotel on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Window seat as requested. She'll love it. Oberon was one of the most expensive hotels in Chicago. We had once planned to go there for our 15th anniversary, but he had to cancel due to a work emergency. And now he was planning a romantic evening there for someone else. Without thinking, I unlocked his phone. The passcode was still our wedding date. What I found was a world of betrayal. Messages, photos, and full conversations with a woman named Lily, who worked in the communications department of David's law firm. They chatted constantly about the most intimate details of their lives. There were photos of them on a trip to Miami, Lily curled up in David's arms, and his smile was so bright that I hardly recognized the man who had stood by me through tough times. I was in shock. I wanted to scream and throw the phone, but I held myself back when David called from the bathroom, asking about his tie as if nothing was wrong. That night, I lay beside him, my back turned, listening to his steady breathing while my body was tense with anger and pain. The next morning, I still kissed him goodbye, as usual. "Good luck with the clients today," I said, while he had no idea that I had seen his secret plans. After he left, I called HR at the university and requested a 3-day leave. I needed time to plan. I decided not to confront him immediately. Instead, I dug deeper. I found out that Lily was married to a man named Ryan, an executive architect at a big design firm in downtown Chicago. I crafted an email to Ryan, inviting him as a guest speaker for a seminar on sustainable urban design at our university. I mentioned a dinner at Oberon on Friday at 7:30 p.m. to discuss the details. He replied quickly, accepting the invitation. I then called Oberon to book a table for 2 near the window, close to David and Lily's reservation. On Friday night, I arrived at Oberon early, dressed in a red silk dress that David had once said was too flashy. I was there for a battle. When Ryan arrived, we started making small talk, but my eyes were always on the entrance. Then they came. David was wearing the black suit I had bought him last year, and Lily had on a tight blue dress. They were laughing and acting like a couple in a romantic movie. When David pulled out Lily's chair, I tightened my grip on my glass. As I turned to get my napkin, my eyes met David's. He froze, and his wine glass almost slipped. Lily followed his gaze and saw me. Before they could react, I excused myself to the restroom. On my way back, I ran into Lily. "You're Anne, right?" she whispered. I nodded and said, You're the one having an affair with my husband while your husband is just a few steps away." Her face turned pale. I called Ryan over. "Ryan, this is my husband, David, and I believe you recognize Lily, your wife," I said calmly. The whole hotel seemed to stop in that moment. Lily covered her mouth and started to cry. David stepped back, and Ryan looked heartbroken. I walked away, leaving them in chaos. After that, I asked the waiter for a private room to have a proper talk with them. In the private room, David tried to explain, but I cut him off. I told them that I had seen all their messages and photos. I pulled out a hotel key and told David that I'd be staying at the hotel across the street. I said I'd be back on Monday and hoped he wouldn't be at home by then. The following days, David tried everything to win me back, but I was done. I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. A few weeks later, a friend told me that she saw David and Lily looking miserable at a coffee shop. David also sent me a message saying that he couldn't move on with Lily, but I didn't respond. After the divorce, I started to rebuild my life. I met Ryan at a coffee shop one morning. We had become friends, two people who had gone through similar pain. We supported each other as we learned to trust again. One evening, walking by the lake, Ryan stopped and looked at me seriously. "And I'm not in a rush. If one day you want to try a relationship based on trust and honesty, I'm here." I looked at him and smiled. I'm not ready to love the old way, but maybe I've already started a new journey without realizing it. Now, standing here at the retirement party, with Ryan by my side, I look at David and say sincerely, "I hope you find peace." He nods and says, "You deserve a fresh start." I know that betrayal was not the end. It was a turning point that led me to a better life, a life where I value myself, worth above all else. And I'm ready to embrace the future with no regrets.